Hi everyone, my name is Tushar Nankani and we'll be talking about working with CI/CD. And today we have on our panel firstly Harsh Kapadia, who took the first two sessions. And not only that, he's the founder of our tech community, that's OTC. He's a really good friend and he's very kind and very helpful. Uh, and as of day before yesterday, he's also a GitHub campus expert. So congratulations, Harsh, for that. We are so proud of you. Now,
Thank you so much.
talking now talking about the speaker for today, it is our very own Karthik Soneji. He does not need any introductions, but for people who don't know him, he he's a really good friend. Again, he's very helpful and he tries to help everyone, and that too without offending anyone. He's an intern at Geminit System, and he's worked with MariaDB Foundation under Google Summer of Code last year. So Karthik is here.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me. um, right. So, Tushar, if you would like to start us off.
So today we'll be speaking about CI/CD. CI, that is continuous integration, and CD, that is continuous delivery.
Right.
Sure. Yeah.
Yes. So, uh, now a lot of very common question that people ask is what is CI, right? Because to before do something, you should know what it is. CI is, as Tushar said, it is set for continuous integration. Continuous integration means whenever you push code to your um, Git repository, your remote Git repository, the master repository, the main repository. Sorry, Harsh, the main repository. If you have unit tests, which you should have unit tests. But even if you don't have unit tests, the code is built. It is checked for style. It is checked maybe for common errors like missing variables or unused variables. And then if you have unit tests, again, which you should, the tests are run, and finally you get a report stating that your code has finished with so many warnings, and your code is compiled fine, and now your master branch or whatever, again, sorry, main branch is still compiling, right? So what this does is it ensures peace of mind. So whenever you pull code from master, whenever you pull code from main, or from your main repository, you can see immediately whether it was the tests are failing because you did something, or tests are failing because someone else did something. And also, if you are testing each commit, let us say the latest version fails, you know what is the last known good commit, when was the last time all the tests passed. So if you need to develop something quickly, if you need to get a patch out for a bug fix or for security vulnerabilities, then you can quickly find the last working version and go from there. Right. Now, continuous deployment or continuous delivery, as it is called sometimes, is when you have one special branch or two special branches, maybe a staging and a deployment, where whenever you merge code, whenever you push code, whenever that branch is updated, in whatever way it is updated, it is automatically deployed to your production server or your test server. Now, sometimes, especially in larger companies, they will have one staging service. Staging is just before production. Everything is light production. Everything is done. Sometimes even a portion of production traffic is directed to staging. But it is to test out changes before you update thousands of servers all over the world. So that is staging. And then when you are happy with staging, you are happy with how staging is performing, you can push it to deployment and the production branch or the production servers, and then that way your code is deployed all over the world. Now, the benefit of CD is that continuous deployment is that you are, first of all, you are absolutely certain that because of CI, your tests are passing, your code is working as expected, everything is fine. There is no missing null pointer exception that will crash your entire app. Secondly, you're also sure that whatever code is running on the server is always up to date with what you think is running on the server, because it can be very hard to find bugs in if the versions are not matching, if someone is reporting a bug. and you do not know which version is the correct version, then that can be an issue. And finally, it also, the most important arguably, is that it forces people to automate the setup process. Now, the benefit is that machines don't make mistakes. They do not forget to change configuration parameters. They don't forget to maybe update the change log with the latest version, whatever it is, whatever your deployment steps are. If you automate that, then you are absolutely certain that no one forgot anything, that the deployment steps ran and no one forgot anything. Now, you will notice in the past week there have been many reports of data leaks. Twitch had, in fact, had their entire, not just a database, but everything, all the code for the production app, the web app, the everything stolen. And the security analysis, there is no official statement from Twitch yet, but security analysts think that it was because of a misconfigured server that was exposed to the public. Now, there is a case to be made that even internal servers should not allow this level of access. But the bigger case is that someone somewhere must have forgotten to flip a switch, flip a checkbox, a toggle, and that is why. I wouldn't want to be that person right now. He was probably fired. Yes, but yes, point is that this is something taken over from airlines, where people are encouraged to report crashes. There is no punishment, there is no prosecution, because otherwise people will try to hide their mistakes, which will lead to more issues down the line. So your deployment process should not be so fragile that one person can have such a huge impact. Right. Now, there are several popular options for CI/CD right now. Oh, sorry. Right, which was very scary. I think the data leak, when it was published on the dark web, it was labeled as part 1. So we still don't know. Yes, we still don't know what else they have got there. Presumably, it will be user data, actual user data, not just the because what they leaked right now was a huge chunk. It was most of production code, and was most of the website. I think, in fact, all of the website, all of the backend servers, the front end servers, everything. But there was no actual user data. There was no actual data. It was just code. So presumably the next step is the second part of the leak is leaking data. So let's see what happens. But yes,
So
right. So
I'll be just I'll be just summing up what Karthik told in a very simple format. So when it comes to CI/CD, Karthik, correct me if I'm wrong, it comes under DevOps. So explaining this in the most simplest terms is DevOps. So there are two people. There is a developer team and there is an operation teams. So developers are usually who want to write code, who want to publish features, new code. They want to put out new code into production. Whereas the operation teams is someone who takes care so that no changes lead to broken features. So DevOps is something, a combination of two, and that's where CI/CD comes into place. So CI/CD is again continuous integration, and CD is continuous delivery. So both of them are used to build and then package and then deploy your application. So it's usually for so when CI ends, CD takes over. So CI is basically it continuously integrates your code into a single repository, and continuous delivery allows you to take the code stored in that repository and continuously deliver it into production. Onto you,
yes,
Karthik.
just one correction. So CI and CD, they complement each other. It is not that one stops and the other takes over. CI will always ensure that it is basically a way of you seeing whether one specific commit will compile or not. Is it working fine or not? And that information is used by CD to ensure that whatever code it is deploying, because most CD systems, in fact, all good CD systems, will refuse to deploy code until it is 100% passing. Like if any tests fail, it should immediately refuse to deploy code without a lot of manual intervention. So CD relies on CI for to ensure that everything is working, and CD is just the process of automating the deployment of your code, the taking of code from whatever repository, whatever source control system you have, building it in a production environment, building it for production, and then putting it on the production server. The
Yep,
biggest
very aptly
benefit,
put.
yes, the biggest benefit of CI/CD will be seen in web applications where any updates are instantaneous, but it is still very useful for even for embedded systems or for distributed binaries, like if you have a browser, or if you have maybe a desktop app, an electron app, whatever. But CI definitely be helpful for you no matter what. CD is of questionable utility in the more involved the setup process is for the user, the less impact that CD will have. CD will always have improvement. You always feel an improvement with CD, but the impact, the amount of improvement will differ. Right. So as I was saying before, there are several options right now for CI/CD, especially with a lot of new companies popping up. When the trend took over, when people started, pushing for more CI/CD. Previously, it was very, very difficult, especially if you had a open source project. If you do not want to spend money, or are unable to spend money on CI/CD to set up a good, robust system, you had Jenkins, which is self-hosted, which is that is Jenkins is production level. It is used by Google. It is used by Microsoft. It is a production level system. For lower level, and then you have Spinnaker. Spinnaker is more for CD. It was developed by Netflix and Google. Mostly, it was developed by Netflix for internal deployments, and later on open source, and then Google took over the uh, no, not took over. Both of them contribute significantly to the code repository. But Spinnaker is mostly for A/B testing and for what I said, for having a staging branch or a testing branch where whatever is pushed to testing is like production, but it is not. It does not affect users. So it allows you to check whether you can deploy something without, it doesn't break functionality. And Spinnaker also handles rollbacks. So if you do deploy, something is missed in staging, something is missed for whatever reason, you can still easily roll back your changes without affecting users much. um, then you have, if you have independent projects, if you are working on an open source repository or something, then both GitHub and GitLab now support inbuilt CI/CD. I mean, CD is not that well supported. There isn't much functionality for having staging branches or having a test deployment, but CI is definitely very well supported. The benefit of having an integrated CI is that you can view the results on the platform itself. GitHub did have integrations with Travis and Circle CI and AppPair, but those were usually third-party integrations, so they didn't have that level of intuitiveness as GitHub Actions has. And in the same way, GitLab was actually the first, I think, first major source control site, the repository hosting site, to integrate CI/CD into their system, into their own platform, as opposed to relying on a third party. Before GitHub Actions and GitLab CI/CD, there was Travis, and there was Circle CI for Linux, Linux testing, and AppFair. I think only AppFair used to allow for Windows testing. So even today, if you go to a lot of old repositories, you will find travis.travis.yml and appfair.yml, because those were the two that was a complete CI/CD setup back then. Now, benefit of GitHub Actions is that you can test on Windows, Linux, and Mac for free. Mac was actually a very, very expensive service on Circle CI, so, and Travis as well. So it is good that GitHub is giving them for free on open source projects. So So yes, it is good to know of all the options. And most CI/CD uses Docker. It uses Docker files to set up independent build containers with an isolated, with a fresh environment every time, a consistent environment every time. So that is also something you can. So before getting into, if you are planning to get into DevOps, if you're planning to get into the operation side of things, it is good to have a working knowledge of Docker. Maybe content, just in general, the containerization, virtualization, that is important to have a grasp on. Um, right. Okay. Now we have spent enough time talking. I think we should move to the code. So I was thinking that since this is Hacktoberfest and since a lot of you will be working on repositories that have CI/CD, and maybe it is a lot of you have this is your first contribution, and this is one of the few times you have made a contribution. So I was thinking a lot of people are intimidated by CI/CD. Sometimes they do not understand how to fix how to fix those build errors. When you open a pull request in a repository that has CI/CD, it will run some checks. It will run some checks on your code, and whatever is the output of those checks will be whether it passes or fails. It will be noted in the log files. Now, if it passes, then good, great. Pull request is ready for approval, and then people can merge it. If it fails, then it is your job to go through the logs, find out why it failed, fix the failures, and then commit the changes or fix the changes. So I had actually made a pull request around last year. So open source is slow, but around last year, and it failed some of the tests. It failed coverage. I'll explain what is coverage, but it failed one of the prerequisites for merging a PR. And that way, this is another benefit of CI/CD. You can test in contributions before you actually merge them, before you pull them and merge them. So that way, you are sure whatever you're merging will not affect your code base. It failed one of the checks, and I want to walk you through the process of first identifying what happened. Why does it show a cross, red cross in my pull request on GitHub? Secondly, how do I fix whatever is wrong? Thirdly, how do I re-request? How do I, once after it is fixed, what is the next step? How do I ensure that this does not happen again? I want to, if possible, I want to avoid having to first push a commit that fails and then pushing another commit that fixes it. I want to ideally push a commit that passes on the first try. So how do you test locally? How do you avoid that? So Harsh actually has Gitpod set up already. Gitpod is, for those of you who don't know, Gitpod is a system. It is a web IDE where they will give you a server, very very powerful server, I might add, where you can run a VS Code in your browser. Everything that you need is in the browser, and the server is running somewhere in the cloud. So you can build very very heavy apps. You can build native C++ apps. You can build even servers. Whatever you need to build. And the benefit is that your local machine doesn't have to be that powerful, and you can use the cloud. So Gitpod is an excellent resource. I would highly recommend you look into it if you are at all interested. Or if your local machine is not that capable, if it hangs or if it is slow while development, then unfortunately virtualization is not supported at the moment. So you cannot build, you cannot run Android Studio, you cannot run an emulator. You can still compile the app, but you have to download it locally to test. So Android devs, I'm sorry, you still have to struggle with Android Studio and the virtual machine, yes, the Android virtual machine. But otherwise, yes, you can. Yes, sir. So I think we should go back to Gitpod, and then set up the repository first.
Yes, give me a minute. Yeah, sharing my screen. Yes, Tushar.
Yes. So this workshop, this talk assumes that you have a working knowledge of Git. Uh, Maybe if you have made a couple of contributions, pull requests before, that is helpful. It is not needed, but it is helpful. But most importantly, we will not be covering basic Git commands. We expect you already know how to create a branch, how to switch checkout to a branch, how to create, how to commit, how to resolve merge conflicts and all. So we won't be going into detail. The previous 2 days covered Git in great detail. The first day especially is targeted to beginners. It is an excellent resource for if you're just getting started. So feel free to sit through this talk, um, but be aware that you might not understand until you go through the basics of Git, right? So please don't ask questions about Git itself, like the details of Git, because this workshop is not going to cover that. So yes. So as we mentioned in the first workshop, I think that the first step to working with the repository is to clone it, which we've already done, and the next step is to set up. So we will go to the README. Can you open the README? Right. And we just follow the steps to set up the okay, before that, this tool, I mean, the name is a little how do I put it, not, you know college friendly, but the uh, it is an excellent tool. You can look at the GIF, you can see what it is doing. Whenever, if you have mistyped a command, if you have accidentally put in, uh, maybe if you forgot to put in sudo, or it can fix a whole range of mistakes. If you have unzipped a file in the current directory instead of a subdirectory, it will automatically try to fix those mistakes and give you suggestions. Um, so this is an excellent tool. It is a fun tool, especially if you're frustrated, if something is not, if nothing is working, production is down. This is a way to vent a little bit of frustration. Right. So if we can follow the quick setup, the quick start guide on how to set up the repository. Um, Most likely that will get everything up to running, and then we'll go to the issue, the pull request that I opened, and I'll explain why it failed and what exactly is coverage. So
All
Harsh,
right.
can you walk us through setting up the repository?
Yes. Hmm. I think I have to start with the installation process, right?
So we are already on Gitpod. When you open a new workspace, it by default has Python everything installed. You should just have to run the next commands.
All right. So I think I just installed it
Um,
using pip.
no, that installation you need to either go to scroll down if there are contributing instructions down, or you need to look at contributing.md.
Okay. Let me check the index.
Think,
Developing.
yeah, developing. Yep.
Report issues. Developing. That is in local Python. Yep. Uh-huh. So I just need to run these two commands. Okay. Right, Karthik?
Yes, sounds yes.
I just pasted that in terminal right now. I'm just going to hit enter.
Hmm. Yeah, so pretty standard for Python. You install requirements, install the dependencies listed in requirements.txt.
Okay. So I ran these two commands. Um, so yeah, the setup process is done, I guess.
Huh, that was surprisingly easy. Can you run the? Did you run Python setup development?
Yes, I ran this command,
The second one?
setup.py develop.
Right. Okay. Now, if you look at it below, you have run code style checks and run unit tests. Now, and functional tests and the sending of package to pipeline. Now, this is a very typical CI/CD setup. You see, you have code style checks. Code style checks, white space formatting, whether you have brackets around if statements or you don't use brackets. If you use semicolons, don't use semicolons, that sort of thing. That is code style checks. That is so they're using Flake 8, which is a standard for Python. It is good to have a code style, but it is not more important in the code. So if you can find a linter that you can easy, so programs that check code styles are called linters. If you can find a linter that will help you easily configure code styles, then great. Otherwise, don't spend too much time on this. Secondly, you have unit tests. So unit tests are one type of. There are many different types of tests. It is not just when you say testing, it is not just one type of test. There are many types of tests. Unit tests, they test code in isolation. So if you have a function called say add, then you will call it with negative numbers. You will call it with 0. You will call it with maybe a string to see that it fails. So unit tests, they check both that your individual parts of the code are working as expected and that they handle edge cases appropriately. One very valuable thing to remember is that if you are using tests, if you're writing tests, then you should never have to check for this. You should never have to debug the same bug twice. So if for whatever reason one day you find that your add function is not working for 0 plus 0, maybe 0 plus 0 is returning 1. I don't know why, maybe, but so you should add that in your test suite. You should check that 0 plus 0 is equal to 0, because you don't want to spend developer time, developer effort on tracking down the same bug twice. So yes, those are unit tests. Unit tests, they test your code individually. Then you have functional tests. Functional tests, they test your code as a whole. They don't care about the internals. They don't care if add 0 plus 0 returns 1. They are just checking that the app as a whole is performing its function as expected. So if your app is supposed to say print out the numbers from 1 to 10, they don't care how it does that. The functional test will run the app. It will check that the numbers are printed properly, and if it is, it succeeds. So functional tests are helpful because ultimately the end user only cares about the function of the app, right? They don't care how you have coded. They don't care what the functions return. They only care that the app runs fine. So functional tests are very valuable in determining if the app itself is working properly. And then finally, you have sending package to pipeline. Now that is an example of continuous deployment. So you can the owner of this repository has automated so PyPy is a repository for Python packages. Whenever you use pip install, whenever you do pip install, it behind the scenes it is using PyPy. And the benefit of automating this part, of having this part as a script as opposed to doing it manually, is that no one will forget to update the version. You don't have to remember to update the versions. Most likely, we'll see later on, there's a workflow that will automatically run the script with the proper secrets, with the proper environment variables, to allow it to push to the original repository on PyPy. So this creates the package, creates the production build, and sends it to the package repository instead of having to do it manually. So here we have an example
All
of
right.
testing of CI and of CD.
Great.
Right. So okay, can you go to the pull request tab of the original repository and search for npx?
Oops, my bad. I'm sorry.
Search for npx.
It did. I don't know what happened.
Yes. So you can see this. I had made this pull request again all more than a year ago. So don't be discouraged if People are not replying. They might be busy. Open source is a very hectic job. So I made this pull request on 20th of July. The maintainer responded, I think, July of this year.
Exactly 1 year after.
Yes. So almost exactly 1 year after. Yes. Hmm. So please don't be impatient. Don't demand an update. Don't demand people merge your code. All of them are volunteers. Most of them are not being paid for what they are doing. So
Yep.
respectful. That is all. Right. And yes. So as you can see, there are two successful checks. You can see that this is what I was talking about. Old repositories before GitHub and GitLab introduced inbuilt CI/CD, they used to use Travis and AppPair to test on Windows and Linux respectively. And coveralls. Now, coveralls is a package that is it is a site, it is a company, in fact, that tests code coverage. Now, what is code coverage? Code coverage is the amount of code that is executed when your tests run. And the reason this is so important is that if you are writing good tests, if you are sure that your tests are working fine, then coverage helps you determine how much percentage of the code has been tested. So let us say there's a function, again, going back to our original example of add function. If I write one test for that add function, let's say test 1 plus 2 is equal to 3, I can be reasonably sure that since I have tested the function, since the function is run in my test, it means that the function is working. And obviously, assuming the tests pass, uh, I can be pretty sure that my function is working properly and that part of the code is not having any major issues. Note that testing is not a silver bullet. It does not, you know, prevent. It does not isolate you from all bugs. It is not magic that it will fix all of your bugs in your code. But testing is another tool that will help you reduce the number of bugs. It will help you reduce. It will help you catch errors quickly rather than having it affect users in the production app and then complaining and then you have to scramble to fix what is wrong. Right. So then there is that. So yes, coverage is a very important metric. A lot of platforms like Salesforce will not allow you to publish an app unless you have 60 to 70% coverage on your tests, which does two things. A, it forces people to write tests, and B, it forces people to write somewhat testable, like better code. You cannot test code that is written in one, scattered around 10 functions and or one function is doing 100 different things. It is very, very difficult to test that. So it forces people to write slightly better code. So yes, and the reason, if you click on details for the failing test, uh, yes, it will show you that if in the big red bar on top, coverage decreased minus 0.4%. Yes, coverage decreased minus 0.4%. Now, this repository, the maintainer of this repository has decided a policy that any pull request must also write its test, because it makes sense, right? Otherwise, people will only commit code and no one will bother to write the test because, honestly, writing tests is not very interesting. People would much rather write code that will have an impact, but it is important for again, future maintainability. So the yes, coveralls will show you the exact folders, the exact files that have reduced coverage, that have reduced test coverage, and the maintainer has also implemented a policy that if any pull request decreases the test coverage, which means it adds code without writing the appropriate tests, then it will not be merged. Then that code will not be merged. And thus, if you look at my comment at the on the original pull request, I have asked the maintainer that this is the code, this is working fine. Now, can you please help me with the tests? Because I'm not very familiar. 1 year ago, I had not worked with Python that much. I still don't work with Python that much, but at least I have a slightly better grasp of Python. So, uh, so yes, and the maintainer responded again, as you can see, 1 year later with the test code. Now, unit tests are good in that it is they're very similar to each other. Unit tests, all you have to do is copy paste one test and start modifying to write a good unit test. So he has pointed me to a file and said, copy paste this file, copy paste this entire file, and then just make the changes according to your additions. Whatever you added, you just make the changes here, and that should be enough. So now that the program is set up on Gitpod, I think we can start implementing the tests. So that I can get this PR merged, right? And if you look at the test structure, you have the fuck repository, a folder called the fuck, and a folder called tests. So the source code, if for the entire app, is in one folder, the fuck folder, and the tests for those folder of those files for each unit tests. The way unit tests work is that each file contains one test file tests one source file. So if you expand both of those repositories, you will see that the structure is mirrored. So both the repositories have the same folders with the same files. The only difference is that in the test folder, all the file names are pre-painted with test underscore. So you have, for example, test underscore UI, test underscore utils. Whereas you will, yes, Dheeraj, definitely, it is like insurance. Then whereas the fuck folder, the source folder, contains just utils and UI.py. Right. So this is a way to organize your tests. Some applications, especially more modular applications, will bundle the tests right next to the source files. So instead of having two mirrored directories like this, instead of having a source folder and a test folder, you will have just one folder, and each file will have two copies. You will have say UI.python and UI.test.python. So that way, all the tests are with the source code. It helps with more modular applications like Angular, like Svelte. They do it this way, right?
Even Create React app does that.
Oh, Create React app adds tests. I was not
Yes,
aware.
it does add tests, and it adds the app.js file, and just in that same folder, there's an app.test.js file as well.
Oh, okay. Which people promptly delete.
Yes, including me.
Yes.
Right. Take the time to do maybe pick an old project, maybe pick a small project and write tests for that. You will find yourself refactoring the code. You will find yourself breaking the code into smaller chunks, in general following better coding practice, because you are forced to think of a way to test it. So it is a good practice. There is also something called TDD, test driven development, that is again, that is catching on. TDD, in the way TDD works is that instead of writing the code first, instead of starting with the code, you start with the tests. So you start with a test that is failing. So you write a test, for example, for a new function called multiply, that will take two numbers, multiply, give you the product. Now, normally you would write a function called multiply, then write the tests to check one into one is one, 1 2 is a 2, 2 is a 4, that sort of thing. But in TDD, first you write the test. You will test an imaginary function called multiply and ensure that, first of all, that the function only accepts numbers. Secondly, the function returns a number. Third, that 1 into 1 is 1, 2 is a 4, 2 3 is a 6, that sort of thing. Now you run the test. You let the tests fail. Everything will fail, right? Because there is no function called multiply. So then, one by one, you start implementing the code such that the tests are fixed. So such that the tests pass. The benefit is that because you're thinking backwards, you are able to focus on what the function does as opposed to how it is implemented, which sometimes results in cleaner code. I mean, The bigger benefit of TDD is that it ensures that every function is covered by tests. It ensures that every
Mhm.
function is tested.
Yep,
And yes,
got
so
it. So Karthik, can we like can we like start with the peer?
all right, yes. So as you can see in his instructions, he has specified a file called test/rules/test git commit add.py. So can you open that file first?
Test slash. Where's the git commit one? Oh
So
God,
you
there
can
is
you can do control P and just start typing. It will no, not here.
I'm
In
just
VS
copying the
Code,
file name.
yes. And if you, it should no, you have to start typing.
Oh, okay.
Yes. You had it there. No,
That's amend.
no, that is
It's a
amend.
main.
Uh, huh. Just to test underscore get underscore.
Sorry, what should I do?
Yes. No, no, this works. Yes, this is the right file.
Oh,
Yes. So what you can do is open. Okay. Now as we saw before, they have mirrored directory structures. So if you look at my commit, if you look at the commit I made, no, on GitHub, um, you look at the files changed, you can see that I have only added two files. I have only changed two files. One is a readme that is not significant right now. The second is this actual file that adds a new functionality. So as per the mirrored structure, we need to create a new file called test underscore whatever file name this is. So um, can you open the test folder and then um, look at the look at the folder for my file. We'll look at the entire path for my file, the file that I added, and you you can follow the path in the test folder.
yep. Sure. Give me a minute. And okay, where are you? Okay, you're in rules. Okay, so it's in rules. Okay, so I have to go in the test folder in the rules directory. I have to create this file, right? Because it's in rules.
Yes, yes, yes. So in tests forward slash rules, you should create a file called test underscore npx add npx to command.
Dot py or
Yes, it's .py. It is a Python file. So this project uses PyTest, which is a very popular testing library for Python.
mhm.
And as per the maintainer, we have to copy paste the contents of the git test into the uh, test for the new function, the npx function, right?
Copied Karthik.
And then now all we have to do is start changing. So um, here you can see this, you have script and output. So the script is the command and the output,
Karthik, um,
sorry.
Karthik, before you sort of start explaining this, can you just tell me what have you like what change have I mean what are we sort of doing here? We have
So
to
the
I
maintainer.
get the fact that we have to write tests, but then for what are we writing tests?
Oh, right. Okay. So if you go back to the PR, you see I have added a new command, a new rule in the fuck that tests for npx, so that fixes npx commands. So for
Mhm.
example, you in node, when you if you are used to working with node, you know that to run a locally installed command instead of globally installed package, you have to
Mhm.
prefix the package with npx.
Yes.
So that then if you don't do that, if you forget to do that, then the package won't run. So I wanted to add that functionality to the repository, so to this package. So if you forget to prefix the command with npx, because oftentimes even in documentation, even in setup scripts, in the example scripts, they won't add npx to it, that npx is implied. So sometimes you forget, and this will automatically add the npx for you. Also, as a bonus side feature, if you misspell the name of the command, if you misspell the name of the npx command, it will also run it for you. It will run. It will find the correct spelling and run the command. It will try to guess the correct spelling. Of course, it doesn't know what you are thinking. It will guess the correct spelling and find it for you. Run it
All
for you.
right.
So
Okay.
and now this is well and good, but as the maintainer wants the code to be tested, we need to add tests to ensure that this is the case, to ensure that this is working as expected.
Got it.
So the way it works is that the fuck looks at the previous command and the output of the previous command to determine what rules to match, what rules to run,
Mhm.
and this is exactly that. So this test is checking if the function is running when um, the the output is this, and this, if the someone ran the command git commit dash m test and the output was test output, then does this rule trigger, should this rule trigger, and does this rule trigger? So that this test says that yes, this rule should trigger, this should uh, trigger this should match this rule at and this test is checking if that is true or if that works as expected or not. I think uh, that was you were able. I hope you were able to follow that.
Yes, yes,
Uh,
yes.
okay, good. So right. So right now, you can try to run the npx command with, or you can try to run a command that doesn't exist. Right. So suppose if this would be a node project, you could have just run npx, say jest, right? If you have just installed, if this is let us say this is a react project, you have just installed, you run npx jest, then you can try to run that. Yes.
Should I abort it, Karthik?
Oh, right, yes. So another feature of the npx, yes, another feature of npx is that it will fetch a command if it is not installed locally already. So this won't work, but try running jest. Just try putting in jest, enter, and it says jest command not found. Right. So we what we want to do, we are looking for commands that were not found. Right. We are looking at command, like when the shell cannot find the command, it is possible that this command was actually supposed to be it's supposed to be prefixed with npx and it's
NPX.
just the user button.
Yep.
So the command should be, let us say, for example, let us take the example of
Got it,
jest.
Karthik.
No. For line 7, let us the script, the command that someone runs, just git commit dash m test. Let us use the example of jest. Let us type. Let us say the user types in jest without and forgets to type in npx. So the command will be just jest, jest jest, and the output, as we can see, you can run the command jest. Let us see what is the output. It says bash jest command not found. That will be the output.
Oops, my bad.
Uh,
I pasted on the terminal.
right. And secondly, you have git commit and empty output. Now, empty output is also possible in some shells. So let us add that case as well. Let us say someone ran the command, there is no output. So same command jest and no output. Right. And then we also need to check the npx case when someone uses npx correctly but misspells the command. That will be slightly harder to test here in this case. So for now, let us leave it out. But keep in mind, we will come back to it later. Now the function name says test match. Change it to test underscore match underscore missing npx, because we are testing that the case where the user has forgotten to add npx to the um, command, to
Yeah.
prefix npx to the command. And if you, okay, now this is something unique to pytest. This is the way pytest works. parameterizes the function, so that way you don't have to pass in the parameters later. You can specify the parameters in advance, and PyTest will run this function twice. Once where script is equal to jest and output is equal to bash jest command not found, and the second time it will run script is equal to jest, output is equal to empty, and then we are asserting that match. Okay, now we need to change the imports. We are no longer testing a get new command and the git thing. We are testing the npx command. So we have on line number 2, we need to change the import from rules, or import, uh, instead of git commit amend, it will be the file name that I added. Yes, rumodi.py, and we have to import match and get okay, in fact, import all the functions. We'll need them later. So if you can go back, open the file that go back to the pull request, and then copy
I am
over
in the
all.
file that you modified, Karthik.
Okay, then just copy over all the functions.
Can't we just
The
import using the star syntax?
I mean, that is frowned upon, because if someone adds a new function to this, it'll automatically be imported there, and then you don't know what you're importing, right? So it is usually frowned
Okay,
upon.
fine.
It is not good practice. So
All of them, right?
all of them, we'll
Okay.
need them at some point or later.
Okay. Oops.
And
Oh,
also,
three
if you don't
functions. Oh, I
uh,
forgot this one.
if we don't import them, then we won't be able to fix the code coverage, because we have to either increase code coverage or keep it the same. We cannot decrease code coverage, right? So we have to test the file that we added.
Just a minute, I'm
I
just checking whether I have all of them.
Yes, there are, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 functions. Uh,
Yeah, there are all of them I checked.
okay, good. So just break them on, put them on separate lines. You can press enter after commas. So
I need to put a slash, right, Karthik?
I think if the line ends in comma, it is fine.
Okay.
No, there has to be a comma on line 2, end of line 2, and rest is fine. Yes. Yes, good, good, good. Now, the first function we will check is, let us see, let us go back to the file. Now okay, now this is important. You have to think about how do I run this function without actually testing in with real input. How do I mock the input? How do I pass in dummy input to this function, so that I can test the function properly, and also it behaves the way I want. So
Okay.
uh, if you look at the match function, you have to see what does it call, right? What the match function calls? What does it need? What is the input? So it takes in a
Mhm.
command. Okay, that is fine. We know how to pass in commands. It returns not found in. It means it returns what it should match, right? So it checks if not found, the text not found is in the command output. So right, so that tells us that the empty string case will not pass. The empty string case is not working, will not work for us. So we can remove that case in the test, line number 12. No, you'll have to put a closing square bracket, and closing. Yes, just remove the case. And yes, so right. Okay. We can take care of formatting later. Flake will tell us about formatting. So you have just bash just command not found. Then we also have the other two cases. We have when you misspell an npx command, and when you misspell, you put in npx but misspell the command. So let us add them as well. So if you look at the example of the pull request, that I have a small table with the 3 cases, right? So let us put in all the 3 cases. We have jest, we have jeet, and jeet, right? So let us say you misspell the command, and these are the 3 test cases. Then go back to the go back to Gitpod, and then let us add those cases. So we already have just. Let us add npx space g. So this is the case where you put in npx, but you misspell the command. So npx space g, and let us run that command, see what is the output. Because as far as I know, Git is not an npm package, so npm should fail to find the package.
Installed.
Command not. Yes.
Oh, command not found. Okay.
Right. And finally, the case where you misspell the package and you forget to
Karthik, what should be the output here?
whatever is this output, copy paste this output.
Both the lines?
Both the lines. Preserve the use \n for the new line.
Okay, and does it matter? I mean, the download time will be different for our people, right? So,
No, this is just example out. This is just test output. This will not actually be used by anyone who is using the app. This is just to test the app. So yes,
okay.
we will need exact random. Doesn't matter because these are sample inputs.
Yeah, so I'm just asking whether even the test, the test will have different values when the output comes. So, if it doesn't get this exact same output, it might fail or something. So,
That is something, if you can test that if you want to test it, but here we are not really, the time is not really important. So yes, so for now we can skip that. Like you can have just one, and then finally we have just JET, JEET. That will be the same output as the first one, but the command not in the output, instead of just it will be JEET.
Okay, let's see what it gives me. Oh, obviously, my bad. I'm sorry, Karthik. Yeah.
Right. Now that we now we have a good set of inputs. So we have, again, now we have to change the name of our test. Instead of test match missing np, just test match, because we are testing if this command should match the output or not. Right. Okay. Save, and now go back to the file. Go back to the actual implementation file. Right. Yes. And here we can see what this match command calls. Right. It calls command or output dot lower. Okay, fine. That is a function on command. That will run fine in a test environment, and it is checking if get matching npx executables in current directory. So it is calling another function called get matching npm executables in cd with the command, and we need to see what that function calls. So we need to go down to that function. So go to the definition of that function. Now let us see what this function calls.
928.
Yes. So now we will see that this function calls another function called get npm bin folder. On line number 30.
Yeah.
Yes. And now we have to go to get npm bin folder, and here we see it calls proc is equal to popen. It calls npm command. Okay, popen stands for process open. It creates a new process in the operating system. It creates a new process for the npm executable. It calls npm. The parameter to npm that is passed is bin, and it the standard output is pipe, which means it goes to it is saved inside. It is not sent to the command line. It is saved to this inside the variable itself. It is not displayed to the command line.
Mm-hmm.
So npm bin is a special command that will give you the it will give you the location of the nearest npm bin folder, npm node modules folder. So if you run npm bin right now, yes, it will tell you that this is supposed to be where if there would be an npm, if there would be a bin folder, this is where it should be. Now if you go do cd dot dot, create a new empty directory, do npm init, and then maybe create some subdirectory, because that is also possible, right? You are inside a subdirectory or inside a few subdirectories, and then you call the you try to run an npx command. So yes,
Oh God, I'm crazy.
Now, ironically, this is the exact case where the fuck would have been useful. You could, I think there is a command that will undo this, but we don't have it installed, so it's fine. You can yes, do it. You can initialize npm like a node
Ah,
project here and repository, and
ah.
then create a
Even a
few subfolders.
repository?
Sorry, npm project, node like npm init dash y, and then
Ah,
create
done.
create a subfolder. Call it something.
Oh God, Karthik
So
naming. ABC. Okay. Karthik, you there?
yes. So sorry. Okay, abc, of course. No. So go into abc, go into that folder,
Yep.
and first go into test. Yes, go cd test. Now try
Yep.
npm bin. Run npm bin. You will see it points to the node modules in the current directory, right?
Yep.
Now, if you go into test, if you go into that abc folder that you just created, um, and then run npm bin, it will still walk up. It will still find the correct node modules folder, even though you are in a
Yes.
subfolder.
Yep. Same output.
Um, Yes. So now you could implement this in Python itself. You can walk up to the root and find the first npm node modules folder that return the path with this. Or if you don't find the path, you can use the same logic that npm bin uses. But since we are working with npm, and since we are using the tool itself. So if there are any changes to the logic, if there are any changes to the way npm works, then it will automatically, like, we don't have to change our code will still work, and it is good to use the original implementation whenever possible. Don't re-implement unless it is absolutely necessary, right? So right, we can delete the test folder.
Okay, I'll delete it. Okay, fine.
Yes, don't delete the source folder.
I
Yeah.
won't. Don't.
Right. Okay. We are back. Yes. Now that we have understood how it works, how the okay. Now back to the get matching npm executable in CD. Right. Back to that function on line 28.
Ah, yes, this one.
Yes. So now we have understood that get npm bin folder will return the path to the nearest and to the correct npm bin folder. Right. Now
Mm-hmm.
what we are doing is command name is equal to command dot script parts of 0, which means it is getting the actual command, right? The npx. If the command is already npx, if the command is this is the case where someone they prefix the command with npx. The npx part is working, but they forgot to they misspelled the name of the command. So npxg as opposed to npx just. So to handle that case, we are just skipping the npx part. We are saying command, if command name is npx, command name should command dot script parts of 1. Right. Now there is a potential issue here, that what happens if the script parts is the length of the script parts is just 0. It is just 1. There is no first element. In that
Mm-hmm.
case, this is why writing unit tests is important. You will find a lot of edge cases in your code. So
Mm.
it should be command dot if length of command dot script parts is greater than 1 and command name is equal to npx. So let us leave this for now. We'll burn that when we come to it. Um,
Okay.
uh, right, and then finally we are returning a new. We are calling another function and returning its value called get matching npm executables. Right, sorry, and we are passing it the npm bin command, the folder, sorry, the path of the npm bin folder, and the command name, right, the command name that we are looking at. Um, so now we have to go to this definition. We have to go down to this function definition and see. that it accepts two parameters, of course, bin and name of the command, and um, we are checking, we are calling some path functions. We are seeing if the path is a directory. We are we are finding the exact command. We are finding all executables. But the point being, we are returning a list. If you look at the documentation comment, get all matching npm binaries. So it returns a list of all the possible commands that you might have misspelled. It returns, if, for example, for G, it will return jest, it will return next, maybe. Right, it will return all the possible that you have installed and that you can possibly match. Right. So now, yes. So now that we have understood what this is doing, now see, the one function, just the match function, is calling all these commands.
Yeah.
Now we have to decide which commands to patch. Now, obviously, when you are running a
What do you
test,
mean
you
by
cannot.
patch?
Yes. I'm explaining. So when you are
Okay.
running a test, you cannot expect that npm is installed. You cannot expect that you cannot call, like, you don't want to call external, you don't want to rely on external tools, because that means that your tests are they depend on external tools. And unit tests in general should not do that. Functional tests is okay, functional tests and integration tests is okay, but unit tests should be able to be run without any additional setup. So you should be able to run unit tests with the bare minimum, which is
Okay.
Python, and the dependencies, nothing else.
Sure.
No,
Let's start running the test, Karthik.
sorry.
Let's start running the test now.
No. So the point is that because you cannot rely on external tools, and
Mm-hmm.
because you want to just use Python, you can,
Mm-hmm.
something is not possible. For example, in this case, get matching npm executables is expecting, it reads the folder in the npm executables, right? So and a functional test cannot create that folder for this. So the way around that is to hard code, like, have run the function once with all the dependencies, copy the output, copy the values that the function returns, and
Mm-hmm.
hard code those values into your test. Now,
Mm.
this should not be done to avoid running a function, to avoid running, avoid having to test a function. Don't do that. You should only do this if you are genuinely unable to run a function, because again, here it depends on an external tool, or it expects a certain folder, expects a certain file to be somewhere which is not. So what we are going to do, we are going to have to pick a place, say get matching npm executables in cd. We can say, okay, can we run this function? Is it feasible? Is it plausible to run this function without, without having npm installed? Is it possible? Now let us see. What do we need? We need to do get npm bin folder. Okay, fine, fair enough. That is, we can hard code the output for that. Then we need get matching npm executables, which we can hard code the output for that as well. So we will have to patch these functions. Patching is when you hard code the output for a function. Now,
Mm-hmm.
different tools, different libraries, different framework will handle this differently. In object-oriented languages, there is something called dependency injection, because you have strong types.
Yep.
You have
Got it,
you can
Karthik.
any any type anywhere. So
Yep.
you have
Got
dependency
it.
injection. But here, since Python is loose about this, we can simply write a fixture. So the way
Okay.
PyTest handles dependency injection is called fixture.
Mm-hmm.
And I have already found a way, an existing test that uses fixtures.
Mm-hmm.
From where we can, again, when you are a developer, most of what you do is copy paste. It may be a little bit.
True.
Uh, so open the test underscore cat underscore dir dot py file,
Okay, I'll have to find it.
test underscore cat underscore dir. Yes. Then you can see that there is on line number 6, there is at pytest.fixture.
Yes.
And this fixture will actually, the original code will call the right function, will call the, you don't have to change the original code, but this fixture will capture the call, it will stop the call, and return the hard-coded value. So can you copy the fixture?
Sure.
The
I
entire,
mean the entire function.
yes, the entire function. So right now I won't get into the exact syntax for fixtures. We can simply use this.
Yeah,
Um,
sure.
yes, and again, as I said, as a developer, most of what you do is copy pasting. Um, oh yes, Control W. I have so many times I have done control. Habit Control W. Don't set up.
I'm so used to VS Code. Anyways.
Yeah, same. So yes, copy paste the fixture on top of as if before we call any of the tests before on line number 8 or line number 9. Paste the fixture. Yes, and right, again, we don't need to understand everything. All we need to do is modify the code to fit what we want to. So
Yep.
right now, as we decided, as we came to the conclusion that we will need to patch two functions. We will need to
Mm-hmm.
patch the get npm bin folder, and we'll need to patch the get matching npm executables function.
Hmm.
Um, so if you go to the fixture, see if you can identify a pattern. Go to the fixture.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Yes. Yes, line number 10. Let us see. So the mocker.patch, the first argument is the function that the path to the function that we want to patch. So rules dot instead of cat dir, it will be npx add npx to command, that whole thing.
This one, get matching this one.
No. The name of the file.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hmm.
I'll take it from here.
Yes.
What file?
And the because this patch will be scoped to that module. No,
Okay, so
remove the.
okay.
So if something outside this module calls this function, then you also need to rename the function from isdir to the same name that we are patching. So right now we are patching get npm bin folder, so you'll have to name it get npm bin folder. So you can copy the name from line number 5. Okay, yes, and yes, the second argument is the path to the function that we are patching, in which case it is a function in the same module. So we will copy paste the same first argument and append dot get npm bin folder.
What do I do, Karthik? I'm sorry.
All right, so the first argument, copy
Okay.
paste into the second argument,
Okay. And
paste paste it into the second argument, and then add dot get npm bin folder, the same name of the function that you just showed.
okay.
Yes, and yes. Now, if you go back to the cat dir test underscore cat underscore dir.
I'm sorry, I pressed Control 2. Okay, I close the file. Okay, it's working in the browser. I have to open it.
Okay.
Yep.
Yes, and you look search for isdir. Let us see how they have used the fixture. Yes. So if you
Is this what
see
you're looking for?
here,
Line 17?
yes, line 7. So here you can see that they are accepting a command. They're accepting a parameter in the test match command called isdir, and they are also setting the return value. They are hard coding the return value here on line number 18. They
Mm-hmm.
are hard coding the return value, and what else? They are then calling the function directly. Yes, great. So we can go back to our the test for npx. Yes, npx test, and in this test def test match output comma script, we'll have to add another comma and put in the name of the command that we are again get underscore
Over here,
npm underscore.
Karthik?
Sorry,
Where do I do that?
on line number 20, when we are
20.
writing the arguments for the test match function, you will have to take in another parameter that is the same name as the function.
Okay, test match.
No, the same name as the function that we are patching. And this is get
This one.
npm bin. Yes.
Okay.
And then here, before we call the assert function, we will have to we have to hard code the value of this get npm bin fold, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So we press enter, and then um, here we can do get npm bin folder dot return underscore value. You can copy the name from the cat dir thing. Yes. No, here it is not true. Here it will be a string, right? Here we are returning a string. So it will be the path to the npm bin folder. For now, let us give something like / test / path. That's it. Oh, sorry. / node modules. You will need no. The every bin folder must be inside node modules, and then / bin. So just run the npm command again. Let us see what is the output. Right. So it is a workspace node dot bin. So yes. Right. So instead of test, put in fake path, so that way it is more obvious in logs and error messages that it is a fake path. Instead of / test, yes, that is it is easier for us to distinguish.
Yep.
No,
Got it.
no. Instead of test, / path, put in fake fake path, and then you can remove the test and path. Yes, yes, and that way it is easy for us to distinguish if this is a real path or a fake path. Please don't create folders called failed path.
Got
It
you.
is yes. Um, okay, now we can run this test to see if it is working. What are the errors? What errors in the test itself? What we can correct. So the way to run a PyTest test. In contributing.md, I don't know if they mentioned how to run a specific test, but let us take a look.
Nope, they just mentioned run this command.
Yes. So instead of PySpace test, we can actually specify the exact file we want to run, the exact test file we want to run, and that one will run.
Okay.
So you can do a test space. I think it is just the path to the file, path to the test file. So that is tests / rules / test underscore npx add, and then press tab. Press tab, yes. Yes, press enter. Yes.
Next time.
So yes, excellent. So it ran the test. It says that there's an error in the test, and there's a warning. There's a warning that deprecation the IMP module is deprecated in favor of import libs. See the module's documentation for alternative use. Okay, so this is a warning, and we can. I mean, it's not good practice, but for now, let us ignore that warning, as a lot of people do, and focus on the error because that is more pressing. It says trailing comma is not allowed without surrounding parentheses. So right, okay. So it means that you need to add backslashes. You are right. You need to add backslashes in the import command.
So add them to the end of the line in one line, or it's okay?
I think you can enclose the entire thing in round brackets. So from open round bracket in match to close round bracket after executables.
Got you.
And remove the backslash.
Yeah.
Yes. Try again. Let's see. Right.
Okay.
Say two failed, three passed, one warning. So what is? Let us see what two tests failed. Um, Let us scroll up.
Okay. They
Um,
put the top, Karthik?
Scroll, yes, scroll to the top, and then let's see what failed. Right first.
Okay, so here we started. And first error, I guess.
Yes. So it says has no attribute npx add npx to command. The rules does not have that attribute. Why is so you okay? Look at the import for the package in the wait, which line is it?
Line number 2.
No, on
Okay, okay, in
the
the error. Okay, sorry. It's like 1100.
no. Before that, it says def. No, setup of test match. Just command not found. Um, okay, scroll down to line 13.
Line
No, on
13, okay.
hmm. Okay, so you have hmm. Why is it? Oh, I think you need to do dot. You need to add in dot before line 13. No, on line 13. Like in the string before line 13. Just dot. Yes, I think. Let us try this. And what is the error now?
Same one. Nope, it's different.
Okay. Just scroll down and more down. Yes, module not found.
Why
Why
is it
is it?
appending dot the fuck you?
Hmm. And this is to let us see. Huh. We are trying to patch. Hmm. So let us look up the documentation. Unfortunately, we need to look up documentation for the PyTest fixture.
For now, what we can do is instead go to CI/CD instead. Like either look at some use cases. Some we can also look at Harsh Kapadia's Git Basics workflow for now, and
So let us
this
spend
might take some
time
time.
on this. I just want to show one test working, and then we can move on to other things.
Okay,
Okay.
sure.
Which one do you want, Karthik?
The second one, I think, about fixture. Right, and it says okay. So it can simply return. Let us go back to the actual test.
Mhm.
And here is returning. Okay. Uh, right. One more time, go back to the documentation.
Sure, no problem.
Okay, we really need mocker.patch. Can you look at that documentation?
Okay, mocker documentation.
Yes, look at the command. It is mocker.patch, right?
The command is yes.
So can you look at mocker.patch? Click on
Should I go to Stack?
Mhm.
Sorry.
Yes, just click on Stack Overflow. That is uh, here for developers all around the world. Requires path function. Okay. Okay, let us use this style of patch where we do not define the function. We can simply hard code it right here. So copy that mocker.patch underscore name plus thing.
Just a layer or the entire line?
The entire line.
Okay, copied.
Yes, and then instead of using a fixture, no, instead of using a fixture, delete the fixture entirely.
Okay, then this entire thing.
Um, yes, this entire thing.
Okay.
And then down to yes. Instead of setting the return value like this, we can on line 15 we can call mocker.patch. No, paste what you have copied, and then change that first part to the full path to this function. So it'll be the fuck dot rules dot um, npx add npx to command dot uh, no, not forward slashes, dots. It'll be a string. It will be of the Python, as if it's the Python module. You are referencing the Python module. Dot the function name as well. The function name in this case
Do I have to put it
is,
in double quotes?
yes, double quotes. I mean after dot after
Yeah.
npx to command dot uh, get npx to bin folder. And then remove the plus dot sum, and return value will be the return value that we specified.
I'll have to add the path again, right?
Um, yes, just no, copy paste the next line, line number 16. To return value, and then delete the next line, and okay, comment out and delete the get npm bin folder in the command and argument in the function parameters on line 14.
Run it again.
Yes, run this again.
I failed.
Yes, mocker is not defined. Of course, it is not defined because it is passed in. So go back to the Stack Overflow page, and uh, so you do need to pass in a function. No, that won't work. So right. What about get npm? Right, we still need to patch that. Right. So let's do one thing just for now to show you how a passing test looks like, because it has been a long time. Let us simply hard code the a return value in the function itself. This is not a test. This is not actually a test. This is just to show
Okay.
you what would have been the case.
Sure.
So if you go
Sure.
to this, if you go back to npx add npx to command, and then scroll down to where the command is defined, the get matching npx executables, add in return, just return a list of say jest and next. No, you will have to return it before just after the documentation comment on line 30. Put in the
Okay.
return statement. Uh, Return a list.
What should I return?
Yes, double quotes. Put in jest comma next. Yes,
Sure.
and then that's it. And then go back to the test, and then we are no longer testing the test match. We get new command will should be easier to test because that is just calling one function. Oh no, actually no. Never mind. This is easier. So yes. So now I think if you delete the rest of the tests so they don't interfere, everything below, yes. And then yes, I think we can run this test now and see what happens. So it says 3 failed, which 3 failed. Mockers. Oh yeah, right. We need to comment out the line number 15 where it references mocker. Yes, and run
So
this
run it
again.
again.
Yes. So
Yay.
finally, we have 3 passing tests. Note that these are not actual tests. This is not how you write tests. But for lack of time, and because Tushar will otherwise kill me, we need to wrap up the session.
Yeah, and just before you
Mhm.
leave us, Karthik, or we continue, could you just tell us how did it actually pass? Like what happened?
Right. So all
Like
PyTest
just
is
in
doing
short, if you could explain that.
all PyTest is doing is calling this function called test match with the again with the sets of inputs and outputs that we specified. So your output is equal to bash just dot command not found. Input is just right, and then we are calling the match function. The match
Okay.
function we are telling PyTest that match should return true. Assert means that whatever precedes whatever follows this expression, whatever follows assert should be true.
Okay.
And all we're doing is saying that if this does not return true, if this is either throws an exception or returns false or does anything that we don't expect it to do, then fail. Then you report it as a failure. If it does report, if it is true, then it is a success. So that's it. That is
Okay.
hmm.
Got that. So now, how did this test pass when the timestamp might have been different? So in this case, the timestamp might have been the same. That's why it might have passed. But if suppose it was 1.3 seconds, then why didn't then this would have failed, right?
No, because see, you that this test is not actually calling npx. The
Okay.
npx command is called. We are simulating the command. We are
Mhm.
saying that you forget about whatever happened. We are saying here is the command. Assume that this command was called. Assume that
Mhm.
this was the output. And
Mhm.
then what will you do? Then what? How does the program work? That is the question. That is what we are asking it to do. So
Okay.
it is not like if the command would take because the command is never called, so there is no question of it taking more or less time.
Mhm. Okay. Got you.
We working under the assumption that we have called the command and this is the output. So
Okay.
in
Oh, okay.
test,
Okay.
yes, it is okay to hard code the values. It is not you don't have to have distinct values.
Mhm. Got you.
And yes, so finally, so Harsh has an excellent project. It is an external report. It is a website and progressive web app and a trusted web app for some reason. And it is about Git. It is called Git Basics. It teaches. It is an attempt to simplify the Git website. It is heavily inspired by the theme of the Git website. It is but it is aimed to simplify learning Git for beginners. So, Harsh, can you please explain? You know,
Yeah, sure. So yeah, I just created this website. So it is built in. I write stuff in Astrodoctor syntax, which is almost similar to Markdown syntax, and the build process, the CI/CD process that we will show you, takes all of that Markdown syntax, which is just written in very simple, almost plain text. It's almost plain text. So whatever you see rendered beautifully over here is written down in plain text. So if I show you this file, if I show you how the preface is actually written down. Let me just take you there. Where are you, index? Yeah. So yeah, if I show you how the raw file, so yeah, this is how the preface is written in this simple syntax, and what you see over here is how it has been rendered. So if you see this syntax over here, this important and all of these points, so if you see, this has been rendered this way. So what is going on? I have written everything this way, but the CI/CD build process and all the steps that I've written that we'll get into right now has actually built out this site and rendered this entire site. Okay, so I have only written this raw file called index.adoc. Okay, I have written plain text and it is being rendered by this CI/CD process. We are using static site generator called ASCII Doctor. So it is calling that ASCII Doctor utility and running that on every push pull request and all that. We'll get into the details, but yeah, that's all you need to sort of know. Karthik, did I miss anything?
no, that is a good intro. And the point that I want to focus on right now is if you go back to the repository and click on the .git GitHub/workflows folder, um, here GitHub Actions is all the GitHub. This contains all the GitHub Actions for your repository. Now, as I mentioned before, GitHub Actions is an inbuilt CI/CD platform for GitHub, and here, yes, there's an Actions tab where you can see all your past workflows, your runs, the ones that failed, the ones that succeeded, with the error messages as well. For now, there's only one workflow, so all of them are the same workflow. But if you can also have multiple different workflows. Maybe one is just checking the code style. One is just checking the if it pass, if it runs or if it builds or not properly. There are no syntax errors. One is checking if it passes all the tests. Maybe running all the tests takes, say, 3 days. It is a huge project. It takes 3 days. It is possible. So you don't want to run it on every commit. You will run it maybe once in a week or so, like every Sunday, every Friday, as the developers are going, they are finishing up for the week. You can automatically run that process. So every week you are sure that you are passing, or whatever your code is, it is either passing or failing all the tests, right?
Yes.
Uh,
Kar-
so you can have multiple workflows, you can schedule workflows. So it doesn't have to be in response to something. So most of all these workflows are running when someone pushes a commit or someone opens a pull request. But you can also have workflows that run every hour, every day, as I said, every week. You can also trigger workflows remotely. There are a lot of possibilities, but the most important part is that here, if you open the workflow file, if you open the um, yes, YML file. Most workflows are defined in YML, which is an alternative to JSON, very, very similar to JSON, but an alternative to JSON. And here you can see that this YML file contains the steps to build and test the report. There are no tests here because ASCII Doctor is not, it is not a website. It's mostly a static site with content. So there aren't really any tests here, but this is all the steps to build the repository. Yes, Harsh, if you
Yeah.
would
So
like
let
to
me,
continue.
yeah, just before I get into all this code and all that, I just want to show you how it looks visually when I sort of run a workflow manually. So I'm going to run this workflow that you see over here manually right now. And it might fail right now because there are no changes. The site is already built out, so it might fail, but it's an expected failure. So don't worry about why it failed. I just want to show you how it looks like. So I'm just going to click on run workflow, which branch I'm on, the main branch. So I'm going to run the workflow from the main branch. Okay. So the workflow is requested. Now, whenever it starts, it'll show here. Let me just refresh. Yeah. So as you can see, it's building out the site. It's currently in progress. So it is going through every step that are defined here. This workflow might fail, but it's an expected failure. It should fail. We have defined it that way. So yeah, it did fail. Okay. So yeah, so what is going
Yeah.
on right now? So each of these steps that you can see over here are steps that we have defined over. So if you see name checkout code, so if you see here checkout code, these first two are added by GitHub themselves. So this is not for us, but we have defined checkout code. So you can see we have checkout code here. Then the next is build site using ASCII Doctor, and you can see that build site using ASCII Doctor. Okay, so all of these steps we have sort of defined. Okay, these last two and these first two are defined by GitHub, but these three steps have been defined by us. Okay, so yeah, Karthik, you want to say something?
Right, and you don't need to now. Don't worry if you find this is very complex. You don't have never worked with Docker or never written shell scripts before. Most of this you can, especially if you're getting started, I would highly recommend either using a template, using template file that someone else has written, or using GUI based tools that will configure this for you. GitLab has a nice tool for where it has preset workflows for the common stacks. You have Android workflows that will build the app, test the app. You have React, you have Angular, you have Vue, all the common frameworks. You have predefined workflows. Something else here that is not implemented right now, not implemented here because it is a website, but you can have artifacts for each workflow. So let us say you are you're developing an Android app. You can learn. Sorry, learn. You can have an artifact for each build. What is artifact? Artifact is any file that is produced after the build. Normally, whatever changes are made to the build container, whatever changes are made to the whatever files are created, whatever outputs are generated, are deleted as soon as the workflow ends, but you can request GitHub to save certain parts, certain files. For example, you might want to keep a record of your APKs. Maybe you want to have the last 5 versions. You want to have the last 5 APK versions accessible to anyone. So maybe you want the development APK, like the latest nightly build, to be you want it to be easy to download and install for anyone who wants to test your app. So if
Yep.
you go to Heartree, we have another good friend of ours called Darshan. He maintains a project called Heartree, and uh, if you look at his actions tab,
Oh, action tab. Okay.
yes. So if you look at the CI/CD, here there should be I'm not sure if you updated it, but you have, yes. So here you can see it is now, this is expired unfortunately because this is quite an old run, I think 4 months ago. So GitHub won't cache artifacts that long, but unless you're on a paid plan. But you can see that the latest version of the app, if you want to just test out the latest features without actually downloading and setting up, and because Flutter is quite a heavy SDK to set up, it is not trivial. So unless, if you don't want to develop the app, you just want to test the app, this is a good way to encourage users to test nightly and then report bugs back to you. So this is one of the benefits of CI/CD. Every time you push, you automatically build and have a record of the app.
Yep. So Karthik mentioned push right now, and this is where I want to chime in. So for every sort of workflow, you can define when you want the workflow to run and on which file changes do you want the workflow to run. So for example, for this Git Basics website, what I have said that, okay, when should you run? You should run when there is a push. Okay. But push to which branch? Not all the branches on this repository. Only when there is a push to the main branch should this workflow run. And even on the main, if that even if there is a push on the main branch, only if these files and folders are changed, only then do I want you to run. So as you can see, the README file is not mentioned here. So if I change the README file and push to the main branch, this workflow will not run. Okay, so you can define this. So the next one is, okay, I want this workflow to run on a pull request. Which branch should the pull request be aimed to? It should be aimed to the main branch. And again, only if the pull request is aimed to the main branch and affects these files will the workflow run. And workflow, this option here is added so that you get this what I showed you right now on the actions tab. Um, if you get inside the workflow here, you see this one, that this particular bar that allows me to run it manually. So adding this one line over here of workflow dispatch allows me to manually trigger the workflow. Okay, and if you read here, this workflow has a workflow dispatch event trigger, and the event trigger is defined here. Okay, so you can define when your workflow can run. Okay, which makes it which can, if the service is paid and you have limited amount of CI/CD runs, then this can help you out, wherein you are not using those it's not costing you money. After that, we can skip over the defaults. It is something only for iSky Doctor, specific to this. But in general, you then have the jobs listed, wherein I showed you. If we get into some workflow, and we get the build website workflow, these are the jobs 1, 2, and 3. We've said the first two and last two are added by GitHub. That is not for us. So we have said these 3 jobs. So that is what we are sort of doing. Okay. So in the build website job, which I showed you, this is a build website job. We have some steps that have to be run. Okay. So yeah, we have one job on this repository, which is the build website job. And inside that job, we have sort of the steps to run, which you can see over here, these 3. I'm sorry, these 3 are not jobs. These 3 are steps. We have only one job. My mistake. I'm sorry. So, and in each of the steps, there are certain commands that have to be run. Okay, so that is what is going on over here, and and you build the site that way. So this particular shell script here builds the actual site from the content. And then finally, this is the last job, which actually publishes it to GitHub pages.
Harsh, can you zoom in?
Oh yeah, my bad.
Yeah.
Is this better?
Yep.
Yeah. So this is what I was talking about. That you can choose your which branch and which files in that particular branch, and on which sort of action you want the workflow to run. Okay, this is for the manual display bar that you get over here.
Right.
Yeah.
So we can quickly go over just the overview for GitLab CI/CD, and then we'll take questions. So go to one of my repositories, maybe maybe a website. I did one for Android, so there should be one. No, go to my profile. One for Android. Dice Solar. Right.
Yeah.
And okay, here, yes, you can click on CI/CD configuration, and here we, Oh, right. So that is only available for me. Okay. Note to self,
Yeah.
file bug report. Right. But if you look at dot,
signed in, Karthik.
No, that doesn't matter. It should either the button should be disabled or it should redirect to somewhere. If you look at .gitlab-ci.yml, there's a file. Yes. And you see it has a GitLab logo. This is the CI/CD config for GitLab. And now GitLab forces you to have one file. I think they are working on multiple files, like allowing to define different workflows in multiple files. But for now, everything is in one file. The upside is that everything by default runs in a Docker container, so setup is much easier. So here you can see the commands. You'll have to yes, thank you, Harsh. You need to zoom in. Here I am installing updates. I am installing some dependencies. Then I'm installing Android Studio itself, setting up some variables, setting up the SDK. Right. Yes. So again, these are predefined actions. Instead of different files, different each before script is one job. If you scroll down to if you scroll down,
Karthik?
right, sorry. So then you have stages. Stages are, you have build, you have lint, you have debug, you have release. um,
Got
for
it.
now using the build stage, and then there is assemble debug,
Mm-hmm.
which again calls the assemble debug. So in GitLab, it is slightly different. You can have different phases. You have build first, you have testing, then building, then building, then testing, then deployment, and then you have different workflows. In the benefit is that you can run workflows. You can run jobs in parallel. Workflows by default run in parallel. You can also run jobs in parallel. So there is that, and then you just look at the how it looks like, how a successful workflow looks like. So if you go to CI/CD and then pipelines, right? So CI/CD is also often called pipelines because it is like a pipeline, and if each run is called one pipeline, and this is a successful, how what a successful pipeline looks like. These are the logs, the error logs, from which you can find out why a pipeline failed. If you want to go back and see which environment configuration it used, you can do that. One more benefit of GitLab is that it will keep the last artifact indefinitely. So you can still download the APK. If you go to the job artifacts, you go to the previous page, just go back, click on
I think Karthik, it was there right here. Yeah. I lost you, Karthik. Tushar?
Yeah, I think he lost his network. He just left the.
Okay.
Yeah.
No issues. So yeah, the it's pretty similar. GitLab Actions, GitHub Actions, pretty similar. Not much difference. Obviously, there is going to be difference, but yeah, it's pretty much the. You can look at the documentation for each, and you'll find the differences. It's not going to be too different. So how I would recommend getting started with all of this, just experiment. Just create a repository, use some try to publish to GitHub pages, and yeah, just try to experiment and see what's going on. There are loads of tutorials out there. You can use those, and yeah. Other than that, we sort of done. So just going over everything that we sort of. Oh, Karthik is back again. Great. So yeah, other than that, just
um,
going over. Yeah, Karthik.
no. So if you could quickly share, I just wanted to show that you can download artifacts on GitHub.
Yeah, I did show it to them, Karthik. I did show it to
Okay.
them.
Yes. Then I think we can take questions if anyone has any questions.
Sure.
Right. So
I do have one. I had a lot of questions. So while writing these YML scripts, so basically we write them in a GitHub in a .github/workflows folder, and there are templates out there to help us. So if suppose I'm writing a React plus Django website, and if I have to publish it on a on GitHub pages, then I'll have to write that job. Although there are templates out there, so I'll just have to customize it for myself, right? And so on for Flutter and
Yes.
so on. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Do we
So
have any more questions?
usually these templates have what you need, because we are usually building out quite basic stuff, and so usually you will be fine with that. But if you're sort of getting into stuff and you want some different things, they usually provide you configuration options. But if you really require something totally different, which I don't think you will, but if you do, then you have to really get into it and sort of see how you can modify it. And if the package doesn't work, you have to do it manually. So yeah.
right. So either everyone understood everything.
Oh, he left again. Okay.
No issues,
Till
no
then,
issues.
yeah. Till then, I think I'll show something.
Sure.
Yeah. So I used a template some months ago. It was a script. Again, this is a workflow over here,
Mhm.
that whenever I actually on a GitHub repository, if I star any repository, then it will automatically commit it over here, arranged in an order of whatever language you have. So suppose if I have a so I, so if I have a repository where Dart is the main language or Jupyter Notebook, so it actually assembles everything, including what the repository is, what the description is, and who the author was, and the number of stars. And
Mhm.
it already has 281 commits. So if I go, it's an automated update that happens every day at 12:30 a.m. Again, that's a different time zone. So for India, uh, it happens in the morning 8:30, and the 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 commits are so many that it's actually it takes time to show those difference, because every repository will have a change, and the workflow looks like this workflow.yml. So this is the time. This is again a cron job. I think Karthik mentioned it. So
Tushar, please zoom in.
yeah.
So this is what is called prawn syntax. There are 5 stars, like 5 different parameters that you can specify. I think it's minute, hour, day, date, and I think it is month. So whenever the time is 30 and 0, which means the minute is 30, that is, 30 minutes, and hour is 0, which means 12. This is 12:30. At on what any day, any month, and any date, it will
Yeah.
run this. So this is called cron syntax. It is very, very, it is very common in most DevOps situations. Again, if you're using DevOps, you should be familiar with this.
Right. And then we have the jobs, as Harsh mentioned. So here are the steps actually, and it uses. I'm assuming this is a preset. It's a
Yes,
template out
it's a
there.
template. Yes.
Yep. And so every time it makes a commit, so this is what it is running, and this
Yep.
is the commit message: stargazed update by GitHub Actions workflow. And
Yep.
this flag is again sorted. So basically, it's sorted according to the language. And
Yep. So, Tushar, if you just wait a bit, yeah. Over here, just zoom into the jobs, Tushar.
yep.
Yeah. So here, if you notice in Tushar's workflow, there is no sort of there is no steps what do you call it, sub entry in the in
Yeah,
every name
you will notice.
because
Sorry, no, what I was saying is you will notice that there is no bash script here. There is no shell scripting here. You're not calling Git. You're not calling any tools. This is something that GitHub has come up with. This is unique to GitHub, where people can build actions, self pre-packaged actions, and then simply use them in the script. Now, this is not available in GitLab, but GitHub, it is there, so you can take advantage of that. But although for more advanced workflows, you will still want to write the configuration, like write the script yourself.
Hmm.
Tushar, I think we have a few questions in the chat. Could you just bring them up?
Yep.
Yeah, and you
So
can
the
start presenting as well. Yeah,
yep.
unless you want to talk something about this.
Yep. That's it. So
Great.
Dheeraj asks, how would we know if our script is correct or not? I mean, it is, but naturally that we may make a mistake while writing the script. So is there some validator that does GitHub Actions or GitLab CI show something?
Right. So it's an excellent question. I wanted to get into this, but we ran out of time. So GitLab actually has because GitLab is open source, people have built and now it is officially supported a command line interface for running your GitLab actions locally. So you don't need to push to run your GitLab actions. You can simply use the command line and interface and spin up a Docker container, run your GitLab action, and see if it is working locally or not before you push. GitHub does not have something like this, but the if you mean, okay, GitLab also has YML config editor. Um, I think you need to be signed in to use it, but you can link your config. It won't check if your script is fine or not. It will check if the YML file itself is properly formatted or not. Because YML does not allow tabs. Tabs are a syntax error in YML. And also, you have to have everything aligned. It is white space sensitive and all. So that will help you check if your YML is fine. You'll also check if it is if GitLab recognizes all the keys. So if you put in a something under, if you try to copy paste a GitHub workflow into a GitLab
Yep,
workflow, it will point that out.
got it.
So that's it.
Yeah, can you take up the next one, Tushar? Chirag has asked
Yeah.
a question.
Dheeraj, I hope that answers your question. So,
Yeah,
Chirag
if you have a
asked,
doubt, Dheeraj, you can follow up in the chat. We'll get to it.
yeah,
So yeah, until then, pre-commit hooks are not related to CI/CD per se. I mean the workflow on the cloud, the what you saw GitHub Actions and all that. But sure, it can be related to CI in the way that pre-commit hooks can have stuff like linting and all of that going on. So yes, they are checking your code and they can have certain steps, maybe some certain build steps to build certain thing that certain file that they want to. So yes, it can be a CI step, but it is a local step because it's before committing and you are always committing in your local machine, unless you're using something code spaces. But again, that's local. So yeah, it can be a part of CI, but it is on your machine, that kind of thing. Okay.
Yes, pre-commit hooks are often used to reduce the load on CI. So it runs quick checks like linting, like formatting. Some projects they even run the full suite of tests before committing, like before pushing instead of committing. For example, Navidrome has I think 21 different checks set up before you can push code. Another side note, you can bypass pre-commit hooks, pre-commit checks, so they are not a guarantee. uh, you can simply add in dash dash no verify and the
Oh,
pre-commit check.
okay.
Yes,
I
because
didn't
Git
know
won't.
that.
Yes, Git doesn't enforce that, and there is no point in enforcing because there is like unless you're signing, even if you're signing the logs, which is something people do, but even if you're signing the logs, there is no way to verify if you've actually run the tests or not. So it is better to do it on the server. You have to do it both places. Server is compulsory if you want to reduce the load on the server by avoiding syntax errors or missing semicolons or small things like that. You can run pre-commit hooks, so you will catch the small errors before.
Yes, Dheeraj.
Uh, yes, CI. Pre-commit hooks are like CI locally, not CD.
Yeah, not CD, obviously, Dheeraj, because CD is deployment, right?
yep. So, thank you, Dheeraj, for staying so active and throughout, and to everyone who has stayed with us. If anyone has any more questions, just drop them in the chat, or you can directly approach us on the clubhouse or directly. And thank you for that energy, Dheeraj. And thank you so much, everyone. Karthik, let's wrap up.
Yes, thank you, Tushar. I would like to thank all of you also for sitting through my attempt at fixing the tests. But
Yeah,
oh
no
well,
issues, Karthik. It's all right.
I
Yes.
will be fixing the test. So if you would like to take a look at what the final code for that looks like, most likely today or tomorrow, I will be pushing commit with the tests. So feel free to check that out as well. And yes, it is Hacktoberfest. You have 21 more days to open pull requests. So go ahead. Feel free to approach us on Clubhouse again if you have any issues with Git or with CI/CD. With Git issues, go to Harsh. CI/CD also go to Harsh. uh, right.
Sure,
So
feel free to come to me for any kind of help that you need. I am always there for you. So yeah, feel free to
Yes.
approach at any time.
Thank
Also,
you.
Tushar, I'm pasting a link to the pull request in the chat. Maybe you want to paste it in the live stream.
Yeah.
right, and also I think we did not mention RSVP. Right, there is an RSVP link in the chat. I think. Um, Please do
I'll do
RSVP.
that.
And
Sure. So yeah, other than that, thank you so much for coming in. Karthik, we are really grateful for you. Thank you for all the knowledge that you keep sharing with us. And yeah, thank you, Tushar, for organizing this. You've put in a lot of hard work. So this 3-day workshop was kind of Tushar putting in lots of effort over here. So yeah, thank you so much for organizing, Tushar. Thank you so much, Karthik, for today's session and for all the helpful comments and advice that you've given to all of us before. So yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in as well.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And yes, go ahead.
Yeah.
Happy hacker test. Go on.
Yeah, Tushar, you're ending the live stream?